What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Roaring Moon EX. Now, we haven't featured Roaring Moon since Paradox Rift first came out, so I figured we would take a look at it again today, and we're taking a look at the second place list from the 2024 Kyoto Champions League. This list is really unique, it's really cool. It actually has some of the ideas that Zach has talked to me about personally in the past as far as what Moon needs. So it's kind of cool to see his ideas come to light, even if there was no interaction between the two players at the time. But yes, as we know, Roaring Moon is a very good card. You have access to Frenzied Gouging. You knock out your opponent's active Pokemon, and if you do 200 damage to yourself. Then you have Calamity Storm, which does 100 damage plus 120 if you discard a stadium in play. Whether it be your opponent's or yours, it's very unique, it's very good. And it's nice to be able to have an auto KO option. And it comes at the cost of not actually KOing yourself, but you do leave yourself in range of being KO'd, so it's definitely something to keep in mind. But Roaring Moon has been a great card since it came out. Now, being paired with this, we actually have a 1/1 Darkrai VSTAR line. With this, you have access to Dark Pulse, but you don't really use it for Dark Pulse. You can, as it does 30 plus 30 for each Dark Energy on all of your Pokemon. Most of the time, though, you'll use it for Star Abyss. Star Abyss allows you to have a V-Star power that is unique and works towards what the deck wants to do. Star Abyss allowing you to get 2 item cards back from the discard. It's really strong, as it means you can get things like Dark Patch back, you can get some energy acceleration if you need to, and that's where we come in with Cross Receiver. This is a great and phenomenal card paired with Moon. So Cross Receiver, much like Cross Switcher, you have to play 2 at the same time, but what it does is it allows you to put a Pokemon or a supporter from your discard pile into your hand. Most of the time you're going to use this for supporters, and it's very strong as it allows you to get back Sodas if you need more energy attachments, it allows you to get back Iono if you need to disrupt, or it allows you to get back Boss, which means that you have extra bosses in the game. So being paired with 4 Cross Switcher and the 4 Receiver, as well as the 1 Boss's Order, you technically have 5 ways to gust, which is huge. You may not need that many, but as I said before, Cross Receiver is huge. Plus, also with playing Pokestop and milling, if you mill supporters, the Cross Receivers allow you to basically have a way to get those supporters back. You could play cards like Palpad, which shuffle them back into the deck, but you have to hope to eventually draw into them. But when it comes to the Cross Receivers, if you're looking for a supporter and it's in your discard, you use Pokestop, you hit the receivers, play 2, get the supporter back, and it's great. It's very reminiscent of cards like VS Seeker, but VS Seeker, as we know, hasn't come back. It probably won't for a while. VS Seeker was the same thing as Cross Receiver, except you just had to play 1 VS Seeker and you could pull a supporter from your discard. So it was very strong. Paired with this, we also have Dark Patch, just for some dark energy acceleration. We have Trekking Shoes, so that way you can thin through your deck as much as possible. And the other unique thing of this list is we're only playing 3 Roaring Moon. Now, the debate between 3 and 4, you don't have to run 4. You're never really going to use 4 to win a game. Most of the time you use 3. But with playing cards like Super Rod to bring cards back if you need to, as well as playing Moon itself, it all works out perfectly. And due to the nature of Moon, if you start a Roaring Moon, you have access to it. Or if you start more Pekko, you have a free retreat pivot. So overall, it works very well. So, as always, the deck list will be posted right here so you guys have a full clean view of it, and in the description, as always, will be the deck list so you guys can copy and paste it into Pokemon Trading Card Game Live if you want to try the decks out yourselves. As always, I want to thank you guys for all of the love and support on the videos. You guys have been killing it lately. I'm not sure what happened, but the Chien Pao video, I went to sleep one night at 200 views and woke up the next day at 900, so you guys have clearly been enjoying the content. We're, a quarter of the way there for 1,100 subscribers. So if you guys are brand new, if you could do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, enjoy the gameplay today, sit back, relax. It's a couple of great games, but that being said, guys, thank you for everything. And after the gameplay, there's not too much to it. So enjoy the gameplay, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later. Alrighty, guys, so we're into the first game with Roaring Moon. We're looking for a good start that will allow us to have enough Dark Patches. We are going to go second, so that way we do have the potential for a turn 1 attack. And hopefully things go as smoothly as we want to. So we don't have a basic, we are going to mulligan, but considering the fact that we play 3 Moon plus the Morpeko, which means that we have a free retreat pivot, there are 4 cards out of the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that we can work with. So speaking of Morpeko, we do start with it. So looking at this hand is actually not too bad. We have Earthen Vessel, which means that we can Ultra Ball away some energy. We have the ability to potentially set up a turn 1 big attack, which is huge, providing that nothing insane is prized. We haven't had the chance to look through our deck yet, but just on the basis of what we have going on, I'm not too upset at our starting hand. And not to mention as well, my opponent is playing Miraidon, so us going second kind of takes some of the pressure off of what they can do. And they have 220 HP, so we can potentially take an easy 2 prizes with Moon, meaning that we gain the ability to just kind of do a lot with our turn. Now again, it's going to come down to exactly what we can go for, but with the fact that we have Ultra Ball, Earthen Vessel, things are not looking too bad. And we have the free retreat pivot thanks to In a Hungry Hurry. I'm very excited to see what we can do. Now, if my opponent ends up sacking off the Mareep, that'd probably be their best play just because it does only give up 1 prize. So we'll have to see what it is we can do here. So my opponent putting a charm on the hands. The charm on hands is okay because I can't... It's okay and it's not, I want to say. Morpeko allows me to take a 2-shot on hands because I can go 220 into a just 70 attack. So we actually get the double cross switcher as well. So that can be pretty good. So the first thing we'll do is the VIP pass just to see what we have to work with. So we can get a Moon down. It doesn't seem like anything too important is prized. We have 1 Moon prized. Our Greninja's not prized. We have 4 Sadas in the deck. We still have 2 cross switchers, the receivers. Boss is in the deck. We have the Dark Patch in hand plus the 3 here. Yeah, things are not looking too bad at all. We do have 3 Dark Energy prized, actually. So that can be a little bit concerning, but as far as everything goes, I'm not too worried. So the first thing we'll do is the trekking shoes, maybe get an idea of what we want to work with. Now, getting rid of the Darkrai VSTAR, I'm okay with that. So we get a Nest Ball, so Nest Ball can help us to set up the Squawk. But what I think I'm going to do here, just to see a couple more cards, is we'll go Earthen Vessel, which will allow us to draw 2 more, which means that then we can start dealing some damage. And then we also have the access to use Nest Ball in order to grab the Squawk to set up even more. So definitely not looking too bad. And we have the ability to Dark Patch. We have the Squawk, which means that we can Nest Ball for another Pokemon. So we can go Nest Ball. We'll Nest Ball into the Moon. I could have also played it a little bit differently, but it's not too bad. So I could use the cross switchers right now. The cross switchers would allow for me to bring up something like this Miraidon, but the Raikou can actually deal more damage. But as far as Moon not being one-shot, let's see. I think we'll go Squawk. Miraidon can be powered up and KO my Moon, so it kind of would be a good idea to go for the Miraidon, but I have to find the stadium along with it. So we'll go for it. Miraidon's a bit of a problem, just in the sense of what Miraidon does, so we can go Squawk and Seize here. And we get quite a few cards to work with. Speaking of the stadium, we do have the Pokestop, so now with the Pokestop, we're going to be able to generate quite a few more things. So we get 3 cards that we can work with. We have Ultra Ball, which means we can grab Sada now, so that's huge. The only issue is that if we go and grab the Sada, then we risk potentially being KO'd by a Raikou. So that's just a little bit of a scary thing to keep in mind, but it's definitely not the end-all be-all. So we'll get rid of the VIP pass and the Nest Ball here, and grab the Lumineon. Lumineon allow us to grab Sada. But if my opponent takes one knockout, we still have the ability to not overbench, and then Raikou can't KO anymore. So we'll go Sada onto the Moon, draw 3, getting us quite a few cards to work with. We have Trekking Shoes. We'll hold on to this Trekking Shoes, and then, as I mentioned before, we have access to Earthen Vessel. We still have Cross Receiver, so right now we can just go Calamity Storm, meaning that we can discard the Stadium, deal 220. Take 2 prizes. We do get an energy, which is pretty good because now, let's see, we have 2 Dark Patch gone. We still have 2, so we can attach Sada, hopefully Dark Patch, have a free retreat pivot with more Petco. So my opponent has to find another Pokemon to bench, and it has to be the Zapdos if they want to be able to take a knockout, which if they're going for that, that's completely valid for them. I'm okay with that. They go for Flaffy, interestingly enough. So setting myself up for a knockout is a little bit rough, but it's definitely not the end of the world. But my opponent doesn't hit the Zapdos, so they only hit us for 200. So since we have the counter stadium, we're in a pretty good spot. So the first thing we can do is conceal the cards, allow us to draw a couple more things, and then we have access to Sada once again. And we won't be able to get the full benefit of the Sada just because we're only going to be able to attach a single energy to this Roaring Moon, but at the end of the day, I don't mind that too much. We can go Pokestop, see a couple more cards. Now, unfortunately, that was a very, I don't want to say big whiff, but kind of a big whiff. But regardless, I'm not too upset by that. So we get a couple more cards to draw. We have access to Cross Switchers. I might Super Rod back in a couple Darks just so that way I can ensure that we draw a few. Let's see. So there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We know that we have 2 prizes, so all of my energy are gone. So we'll shuffle back at least 1 dark energy. That way, if we hit Sada, we can power up this Moon still, and if we don't, we're still in a good spot with that. So just go here, go Calamity Storm, hit another 220. And now my opponent's kind of in an awkward spot. They have all 2 prizes on the board. If my opponent's playing the list that has been doing well with Turbo Moon, I see that they're playing Judge, but might be a one-of copy. I don't think that there's too much that they can do to disrupt, but with them at least having the Flaffy, it does give them a 1-card turn where if we don't have the switching out, we're okay. So what we'll do next turn is just attach to the Moon with the Earthen Vessel, and then we can Cross Switcher up the Iron Hands and use Frenzied Gouging, take our last 2 prizes, and go from there. So we'll have to see what my opponent does here, and they just pass. So this means that we are able to go for the combo that we wanted to. So we have the Earthen Vessel to discard Earthen Vessel. And I could have played the Stadium and just bossed, but I kind of want to take out the Iron Hands just so that way we can get a Frenzied Gouging going. So we can go into the hands, which means we can go here. And then we have the Frenzied Gouging to knock out my opponent's active and deal 200 to ourselves. And just like that, we were able to, freely out Turbo Miraidon, especially with going second. It meant that they didn't get an attack off, so going for things like Squawk wasn't super powerful for them. They don't have access to playing a supporter going first, but they still want to benefit from Squawk, see generators and all the things like that. And I'm not too sure why the background has the cards in black, but that was the first game. Let's hop into a second game, see if we can get the same consistency going, and hopefully we're able to set up some good damage numbers. I tried to mix damage and numbers. I'm just gonna get into the next game now. Alrighty guys, so let's get into the second game with Roaring Moon. We don't want to go first. We want to be able to use supporters, squawk, kind of go on the turbo engine that Miraidon usually does, except we want to do it a lot better. Having the ability to Pokestop and all that fun stuff, it's not really terrible, you know, for us to discard things, especially with cards like Cross Receiver. Having the ability to Pokestop away supporters, but then have the chance to get them back is huge. Now, we could play cards, you know, along the lines of, Pal Pad and things like that, but that puts them into the deck. So inherently, Cross Receiver acts as VS Seeker for those of you that remember that card. It just makes it a lot better. So we're playing against Goldango. Now, Goldango could be a little bit weird just because it does have a lot of extra HP, but in the sense of what we want to do, we need a good top deck here, or we need something good off the Trekking Shoes. We need to be able to set up as much as possible, and then from there, hopefully do well. Now, the nice thing is that Gimmighoul is weak to Dark, so if we can find a way to attack with Wind of Darkness, we'll be in a good spot. Otherwise, might be a little rough. So we do get Iono, which inherently could be okay. I think the first thing we'll do is the Trekking Shoes. Now, Trekking Shoes is actually pretty good, so we'll put the Nest Ball into our hand, and I'm actually going to go Greninja here. Now, our Greninja is prized, unfortunately, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. Looking at what is in our deck, though, to work with, honestly, we're probably just going to have to go for the Moon. Let's see. I could go Morpeko, which does give me the pivot option to treat, which I don't hate. And it leaves a one prizer in the active rather than anything else, so I'm actually okay with this. So we'll go Switch Cart into the Morpeko, and then we'll just play the Iono. And then from here, hopefully we get some cards to work with. So we get Battle VIP Pass, we get Squawk. We actually get quite a few things that we want to work with. So we'll just get the Double Moon down. And then hopefully off of here, this Pokestop, we can hit some Dark Energy, continue the setup. And fortunately, that did not work as good as I wanted to. And we got rid of 2 Sadas. So honestly, at this point, we're just going to Squawk and Seize, get the full setup going, hopefully get some things rolling, and go from there. So we have Trekking Shoes. We'll put the Receiver into our hand. It does give us some more to work with in the following turns. And now, let's see, is there any other Pokemon that we need to battle VIP Pass for? I don't think so. Our last Sada is prized, so we do have to rely on these Cross Receivers, and we do have 2. So hopefully we can get some things going. But having to ditch 3 of the Sadas early on is definitely super rough. Not to mention we also have a Dark Patch gone, so some of our energy acceleration is a little bit rough, but thankfully with Darkrai we do have access to the VSTAR, so. And my opponent has to boss if they want to potentially take a KO on a Moon, so we're looking pretty good. Frenzied Gouging is going to be our best friend in this, just because we do have the ability to take instant knockouts, in which case we can be instant knockout in return, so it's going to be a little bit scary, but as long as we can pivot right and do some of the things that we need to do, we should be okay. My opponent's going to be able to draw a ton of cards due to the nature of coin bonus, but I'm not too worried. As long as we hit something to kind of set up next turn, we should be okay. The only thing that kind of sucks is the fact that with Morpeko being in the active, I don't really have a switch pivot anymore, so I may even have to resort to using something along the lines of, alright, so my opponent is just going here. There's the Pokestop, so they don't hit anything useful, which is good for us. And considering the fact that there is 3 in the discard, my opponent has to discard a total of 5, so if they have Superior plus Attach plus the 3 energy, then we're in for kind of a tough time, but we will see what happens. They can take the first set of prizes here. Might be a little bit rough. My opponent just hits 200, which is valid for them to do. We're not going to be able to take a big knockout, but we do get the Ultra Ball, which is kind of huge. Realistically, I'm going to Pokestop. We're going to risk it and see what we get. And we actually get the receivers, which is great. So this means that... I want to get this second Dark in the discard. Now my opponent has one card in hand. So if I can actually Frenzy Gouging and then just promote the Morpeko, I don't hate that. And then I can set up another moon for some damage. So what we'll do is Ultra Ball. We'll get rid of these, to which we can grab the Darkrai VSTAR, which does give us the ability to evolve. And then we can go Cross Receiver, put the Sada back, and then we can start to set up some more. So we get actually quite a bit of good cards. So we can get Dark Patch back. We also have Cross Switcher if we need it. I'm thinking of waiting for the Cross Receiver. So in all honesty, we're most likely just going to attach, and then we can use the Frenzied Gouging to take a knockout, because even though my opponent gets 2 prizes, we get 2 prizes too. And then my opponent has to boss around, find a way to take a KO on the moon here. Otherwise, they're in a rough spot. So I'm not too worried. So we get 2 prizes. And then we have to see what my opponent wants to promote. We actually get Greninja as well as Sada, so that's huge. So we can promote the Morpeko. And we can even end up attacking with Darkrai too, which isn't terrible. So we'll see what my opponent does here. So they do play Clara. We can even possibly get back some Cross Switcher pieces depending on what, we have to work with. But getting a 3rd moon down is going to be super important. We actually might have to take a knockout with a Darkrai here on the Scizor, just to go to 3 prizes to match my opponent. It's going to be a little bit awkward, but it's definitely not the end-all be-all of the world. My opponent using Pokestop, getting rid of a couple cards. We can also use Calamity Storm to take out the Scizor, which doesn't sound too bad there. We can use the Cross Receiver to get back a couple of cards that we may need. So first thing we'll do is promote the Squawk, just because it does have the lowest retreat, and if we hit cards like Dark Patch, which we just did, it gives us the ability to work well with some other things. So we'll attach, and then what we can do is, let's see, what is in my discard right now? So I do have Switch Cart. I could get Switch Cart back, to which I could get Switch Cart Receiver, play Iono, put my opponent to 3, take a knockout here, which doesn't sound too rough. I think the first thing that we'll definitely do for sure is use concealed cards just to see a couple more. So we'll go the attach, and then we can go Starvis. Starvis means that we can grab the receiver and the switch cards. Can use the cross receiver. Cross receiver means that we can grab Iono. Let's see. We'll Earthen Vessel and get rid of the Battle VIP Pass just to take a look at what's in the deck. So we don't have the other moon. The other moon is prized. So we definitely do need to Super Rod the moon back. So we can go switch cards. Super Rod back in a couple of our moon pieces. We'll put back a couple of the dark energy as well. And then we can go Iono here. And we do, unfortunately, shuffle some things to the bottom, but not the end of the world. And we actually get the moon, which is huge. So now what we can do, we'll use the Pokestop, hit a couple good cards, it's never a bad thing, and then we can use the Calamity Storm, take a knockout here, go down to 3, which is an awkward number to be at, but it's definitely not the end of the world. It's just rough because if my opponent does deal any form of damage to us, we need to hope that we can set up the benched moon in order to frenzied gouging, otherwise we're going to be dealing with some damage. So there's a superior energy retrieval, so my opponent down to 1 card in hand, getting 4 energy back. They do have the ability to draw with concealed cards. Hopefully though our Iono definitely shut them down. They do have a free retreat pivot with the Scyther, which can be a little bit scary, but my opponent's going into the Gimme Ghoul, so just continuous coin toss, so that's actually really good for us. It means that we can just use Frenzied Gouging, take a knockout, and then we can have a moon set up on the bench, to which we are in a good spot. And the nice thing is that since we only do 200 to ourselves, we still have the ability to set up even more. So first thing we'll do is the trekking shoes. Cross switcher could be a vital piece to what we need, but I don't think it's going to be too important right now. I need to try and dig for something along the lines of a way to power up this moon. So go no, draw for turn. Okay, that's fine. So we can go concealed cards, to which we can draw 2 more. We get Dark Patch and Energy, which is perfect. So this means that we can go here, use Dark Patch. Dark Patch will allow us to power up the moon. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to do. We do have access to Luminion in the deck, which actually could be huge. It does give us a way to kind of draw some more cards. I don't hate that, so we'll go Ultra Ball. And we're just going to try and thin the deck as much as possible, just in case we run into any issues whatsoever. So we'll go Luminion. We'll use the Luminous Sign. We also have Boss in the deck, which is great. And we do have the other Cross Switcher piece, so looking at the way things are going, we're in as good of a spot as we want to be. So we can draw 3. Get the cross switcher piece as well as the boss, and we also have access to Pokestop, so something like Iono isn't going to be as tough on us. Now I will play the Pokestop just in case I need to find those last 2 cross switcher pieces in case they do get Iono'd. So actually playing the Pokestop didn't matter, but it does get rid of an extra card for Iono, and I still have access to 1. I completely forgot that with Calamity Storm. Is it? Hold on, let's see. You may discard a stadium. So I didn't have to discard the Pokestop, but it's all good. If I didn't discard the Pokestop, I could have left it in play, and in which case I would have been in a good spot when it came to using Frenzied Gouging, but we're all good. It's not the end of the world by any means. If my opponent doesn't take a knockout here and they just concede, so, you know, the aspects of the turbo-ness and being able to thin our deck definitely provided a lot of good turns to which, you know, we had the chance to respond. We set up the second moon just in case my opponent took a knockout there. They'd go to 1, we're at 2, then we can use Frenzied Gouging on ourselves, not be KO'd. My opponent only dealing 20 damage meant that, you know, we still had 10 damage left if we Frenzied Gouging with this Roaring Moon. So overall it all worked out really well. I really enjoy this list, so I definitely think you guys should give it a try. So if you guys did enjoy today's video, do me a favor, smash the like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. You guys have been killing it. I went to bed with my Chi and Pao video at like 200 views and I woke up to almost 900 views, so you guys have been doing awesome. I really appreciate you. And with that being said, guys, thank you for everything. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video. Later.